Even though the Bible was written a very long time ago, it has many stories and parables in it that can help us to make sense of the world that we live in. The Bible can also help us to understand how we are feeling and how we can cope with those feelings. We have thought about how God looks after us when we feel afraid through hearing different parts of King David's story and how he trusted that God would keep him safe, as well as the story of Pentecost, when Jesus' friends went from hiding in a room together, terrified, to running out and speaking to thousands of people because God had filled them with the Holy Spirit. We heard about how God cares when we are lonely, with the story about how he looked after both Elijah and a widow and stopped them from being alone. We also heard the story about Nehemiah and how God cares when we are sad. Last time, we found out that God cares when we are frustrated, when we looked at the story of Jesus' friends' big catch of fish. Today, we're going to think about feeling uncertain. God cares when we don't feel up to the task we are facing. God cares when I am uncertain. So let's go into the book to the story of the burning bush. When he was born, Moses was an ordinary Jewish baby. His mother and father were living as slaves in the country of Egypt, along with all the other Israelites. But Moses had been adopted by the Pharaoh's daughter and had lived in the palace surrounded by wealth and comfort. One day, though, as he was out walking, he saw for himself how badly his people were being treated. He got so angry that he snatched the whip out of one of the Egyptian soldier's hands and whipped the soldier with it. As soon as Pharaoh heard of this, he gave the order for Moses to be killed, even though Moses was his adopted grandson. Moses ran away. He fled across the Red Sea and across the desert until he arrived at a place called Midian. In Midian, he met a man named Jethro. Jethro and his family loved God, trusted God, and obeyed God. Moses started working for Jethro as a shepherd. He fell in love and married Jethro's daughter. Moses began to love God, trust God, and obey God. He felt safe, far away from Egypt and his past life. Now, one day Moses was out in the hills tending his sheep, when suddenly he saw a very strange sight. There in front of him was a bush that was on fire. But although the bush looked as though it was burning, there was no smoke and no damage. Moses moved closer to get a better look, and then he heard a voice, God's voice, calling him by his name.
Stop! Do not come any closer, Moses. Take off your shoes, you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, the God of Israel.
When he heard this, Moses hid his face.
I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of the soldiers. I am concerned about their suffering. I am going to set them free, rescue them from the hands of the Egyptians, and take them to a good land where the crops will grow well, where they will be happy and no longer slaves. So, now I am sending you to Pharaoh to be the one to lead my people out of Egypt.
I can't do that. I'm just a poor shepherd. I left Egypt ages ago. I can't go back there. Surely I'm too old. No, I can't do what you're asking of me.
Moses came up with all sorts of excuses. In fact, he asked God 5 times about the job God had given him.
Moses, I will be with you.
But what if I go to the Israelites and they don't believe that it was you that sent me? What shall I tell them?
This is what you two are to say. I am has sent me to you. Assemble all the leaders of the Israelites and tell them that the Lord, the God of your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said to me, I have watched over you, and I have seen what has been done to you. I promise to bring you out of your misery in Egypt, and I will take you to a land that is good and plentiful. They will listen to you. Then you are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, The Lord has met with us. Please, can we take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to go and worship the Lord? I will warn you now, the king, the Pharaoh, will not agree to this, but I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptians with all sorts of wonders, and after that he will change his mind.
But what if they don't believe me or listen to me? What if they say to me, You're lying, the Lord did not appear to you?
Take that staff that's in your hand now and throw it to the ground.
Immediately, the staff turned into a snake.
Now, pick up the snake.
As Moses picked up the wriggling snake, it changed back into his shepherd's staff.
I'm shy. I can never find the right words to say. I can't speak out. I'm no good at speaking to people.
Who gave human beings their mouths? Go, I will help you to speak. I will help you to know what to say.
Lord, please send someone else. I really don't think that I'm the right man for this job.
Your brother Aaron speaks with confidence. Go with him and tell him what to say, and then let him say it. Now go. My people need you.
So Moses went. He took his staff with him and travelled back to Egypt, where God's people did listen to him speak God's messages, and where God performed wondrous signs that eventually made the Egyptian king let the Israelites leave.
Moses said, I can't do that, and made up all sorts of excuses. He was very anxious and uncertain, convinced that he was the wrong person for the task that God had set him. Moses knew he wasn't the brave, bold sort. He was scared to go back to Egypt. What sort of welcome would he get? He was scared in case people didn't believe him. He thought he wouldn't be able to do the task that God had told him to do. But God showed him that he was able to do anything with God's help. Have you ever felt that things were too difficult to do? Think about a time when you have thought, not me, I couldn't do it. Maybe your teacher has asked you to stand up in front of everyone and read something, or when you have been chosen to be in a team. Think about how you can believe in yourself and stop that feeling of uncertainty. Now, I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, please say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, when we are faced with a task that seems much too big for us, help us to remember Moses. Although he was unwilling and uncertain, thank you that with your help, he set out to rescue the people of Israel from slavery. Amen.